Welcome to the regular council meeting Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 at 4:40 p.m. in council chambers and via Zoom. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on the traditional territory of Algonquin peoples, including Beaver House First Nation and unceded territory of other Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, and Métis people in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment to and responsibility to reconciliation. Call to order and a moment of silence. Item number 2, approval of the agenda, moved by Councillor Dykens, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 be approved as circulated, and that section 15 of procedural bylaw number 1575 as amended be suspended to allow for a recess to hold a public meeting prior to the commencement of regular business noted in section 4 petitions and delegations. And finally, that section 33 of procedural bylaw 1575 as amended be lifted for matters noted under section 4 petitions and delegations only, to relax the rules on discussions between members of the public and to allow administration to openly participate in the discussion where required.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted at the table. We'll now take a recess from regular meeting to begin our public process. Welcome to the public meeting of 2025 town budget, date Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Call to order at 4:42. Just before we begin this evening, I would like to address the following. This evening's public budget is surrounding budget dollars only. Budget dollar only. Thank you very much. Item number 2, declaration of pecuniary interest. Any about what we are about to speak about in terms of public budget meeting? None noted as well. Item number 3, 3.1 2025 town budget public meeting. First, municipal clerk Jennifer Montroy will speak, and then we will have treasurer Mr. Lloyd Crocker speak after. Madam Clerk, do you need a first and seconder?
Yeah.
No, okay, thank you. You may proceed.
In January 20, thank you, Madam Mayor. In January 2025, council directed that a budget schedule be adopted, which included the hosting of a public meeting for community input in relation to the 2025 town budget. Members of the public were provided with the option of registering in advance of the meeting to be put in priority to speak this evening, submit their comments in writing to the clerk's office to be read at this meeting, participate in person in council chambers, or participate electronically. Subsequently, members of the public were provided with the opportunity to participate in a budget survey that circulated in the community between December 18th and February 14th. Those results were included in the tabled budget package. Copies of that report are available at the back of our room. Our deputy clerk can assist members of the public with obtaining a copy. She's just back here. The proposed budget is also available in those packages and can be viewed digitally at kirklandlake.ca by clicking on the box entitled 2025 budget. The table budget has been available to the public since February 28th, 2025. On March 4th, council also received a 2025 corporate business plan, which ties in this year's service deliverables alongside the table budget. There are a couple of copies printed and available at the back of the room this evening, and the plan is also available by visiting kirklandlake.ca by clicking on the box entitled 2025 budget. On March 6th, council received presentations from town and local board administration, providing general departmental and divisional overviews, rationales for increases and anomalies, challenges, and upcoming initiatives. These are available by reviewing the March 6th meeting agenda or by visiting kirklandlake.ca by clicking the box entitled 2025 budget. The treasurer will be providing council with answers to questions received between March 4th and March 18th in his summary this evening. There is no discussion or debate with the treasurer. Council's questions should be redirected through the finance chair, Council Ranger, or posed on March 20th before deliberations. All questions posed by members of the public and members of council between the public meeting this evening and March 20th will be presented by the treasurer at the beginning of the March 20th meeting for transparency purposes. On March 20th and the 27th, if a second meeting is required, council will review the tabled 2025 budget, the survey, the presentations, the queries of questions, twice coordinated from the treasurer, and have the opportunity to ask further questions of clarification of administration and begin their deliberations. Therefore, to summarize the steps in this evening's public meeting, comments received in writing by the clerk's office, if any, will be read first. Each participant will have an opportunity to provide their comments. Each participant can only speak once. Persons who have registered and or are joining electronically, if any, will be called to the podium or given the floor digitally in order of priority. The chair will then call for anyone in council chambers to present their comments. Participants are encouraged to leave their email address and contact information with the deputy clerk, the lady in the pink blazer in the back. If they have a question, asked a question to the treasurer. Once spoken, nothing prevents a participant to submit subsequent questions to the treasurer thereafter, either by email, telephone, or by attending the municipal office during regular meetings. The treasurer will also be responding to participants again after tonight's meeting in the manner they so choose. Again, all responses to inquiries from members of the public this evening will be presented in the open meeting of council on March 20th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome, Mr. Crocker. You'll now provide a summary of the budget report and answers to questions posed by council and public since the budget was tabled March 4th. You may proceed. Thank you.
Through you to council. We presented the report on March the 4th. I will not go through it in as much detail as I did on the 4th, just to remind you. The bottom line draft budget was a 10.3% increase. We are constrained somewhat this year as our reserves are not as strong as they were in the past, which is part of the discussion, the overall discussion here. There was a significant number of questions from council at the last meeting that I'd like to kind of take a run at here. You'll have to excuse me if I don't get the order exactly right, and I tried to re-listen to the recording to make sure I got the questions right. But again, as you see in here, if I'm not answering the question exactly as you thought should be answered, I'd be happy to hear from you and deal with it on Thursday in front of the public, any changes. So in not a perfect order, but hopefully everything is included. There was a question about the park reserve for our ex-mayor Enoy. This kind of dovetails a little bit into quite another comment from another councillor about the reserves in general. So the descriptions that are in the reserves in that attachment are a little bit generic in nature, but they do kind of point to what was expected from, typically in this case, it's people who have made donations and then have kind of expressed their interest, if the money wasn't spent immediately, express their interest in how those monies should be directed in the future. Many of these reserves predate me by a significant amount of time, so I won't be able to answer in detail most of them. But whether or not we can use them, I think we can rely on the short descriptions that are there to decide whether or not they're available for specific purposes within the budget. And later in the year, we'll bring something back. We're gonna have to do a little bit of homework. Some of these are pretty old, and it's not necessarily precise, the description about what they were looking for. Not to lose track of the fact that reserves and reserve funds are created by council decision. So previous councils to yourselves and a couple here, some of you were involved with a couple of these reserves. They went through a process of being reported on and decided on by council. So TPR, this was Tanya addressed it in her presentation. It looked odd, and there was two councillors who commented on this, that we have a 16.6% increase, but it was all focused on wages. Again, I just want to emphasize that, you know, the increase was almost entirely driven by what we expect to happen in wages by union agreement. it's not a lot of wiggle room about how the calculation was done. The other lines are just the reason they didn't change is the director of TPR has represented that that's the budget figures that she's shooting for. The fact that the same as last year is a positive from our point of view, that there's some kind of, you know, a goal here that's trying to keep costs in line. So, you know, like I said, they look odd, but it's really a representation from the director that that's what we're going to try and get to. There was a comment about the economic tourism coordinator, which we will talk about on Thursday when we get to deliberations about using some of the reserves to fund that. KL Health Center reserve for future capital. I had represented that it was part of our partnership with the hospital. It did come out of that partnership and the fund and the original build of the hospital. So it was meant to be put aside for future capital purposes for the health center itself, because we share in the costs of maintaining that building with the hospital. I went back a couple of years, I didn't see any changes. The mechanism for changing it is kind of buried in a partnership agreement, which I'm doing some follow-up on right now to make sure I've got the latest one, and stuff like that. But its purpose was for future capital related to the health center. Museum savings, there was a question about how much they were. So you'll see in the budget that essentially the savings is about $250,000, around 250,000. You just have to look at prior year to the current year budget. We talked about why there was a small expenditure this year, still in the budget related to it. Budget survey, question about how economic development could be in both tables. The one which set a priority, what people chose as a priority, and the table below is where people chose, they didn't want their priorities to be set. It sounds a little funny at first blush, but actually it makes a lot of sense. There's just a lot of people out there that put a lot more weight on economic development, and some put no weight on economic development. They believe other things come first. So I think that's just a reflection of where people think the priorities are. Some of them, like I said, put a lot of emphasis on economic development and tourism, and some put emphasis on different areas. So it can show up in both tables. It's not impossible. The DSAB refund. So just to make it clear again, it's 193,000 is what we received back from them last year, rounded. The actuals. So you've all received by now an amended attachment 1 and water and wastewater attachments, which include the actuals. I just like to emphasize again that that's unaudited figures. Those are figures that will change. They will not really look like the audited statements because there's two types of accounting standards being used. What we report for on the budget basis is significantly different than what shows up in the financial statements in the end. But we're still making changes, even today. I signed off on a journal entry. We're still making changes, and these figures will change. They are still useful. They still give you a kind of a framework, an idea of how things went last year within the various departments. And they're there for your review. Northeastern Public Health. So there was a question of, we all understand that we have to wait for their budget now. We really have no idea what that'll mean. But related to that is we do have a reserve sitting in our reserves that we've been drawing down approximately $20,000 a year to pay for some of the health unit, the Temiskaming Health Unit's budget, and that will be available, you know, when we find out what the Porcupine Health Unit or Northeastern Public Health Unit. That's the old one. When we find out what their final budget is, we have a reserve available to at least not have to revisit a budget in the current year. I mentioned the comment about reserves in general, so I just want to be clear. There's some homework to be done here, so I won't be able to come back with like a comprehensive answer to all of the reserves and reserve funds, where they came from and what their original detailed purpose was. But we will come back with a report and some discussion about that later in the year. For our purposes here for the budget, like I said, I think you can rely on the descriptions in there if you have something in particular you want to use it for. Yeah, the last one, there was a question about a a $260,000 transfer at the end of the budget last year. And that was to bring it down to a certain tax rate. That the amount was, I couldn't figure out if it was 266 or 260 when I look back at I wasn't listening very well. But the point being is it came out of the tax stabilization reserve. That was the reserve that was used to bring it down to that final number. And there's 621,000 still sitting in that reserve which is available in theory for this process as well. That is all the questions that I took notes on. Check my own. Choices. Need to be thorough.
Absolutely.
So there's some other things here which really are more part of the deliberations evening. What choices and some comments that the councillors made about what directions and. So I guess that's questions portion.
Thank you so much, sir, for that review. We're moving on to item number 4, confirmation of notice. Madam Clerk, how was notice given?
Notice of the public meeting was given in accordance with the Town of Kirkland Lakes Notice Bylaw 2247 by publishing said notice on the town's website 14 days in advance as of February 28th. Supplemental notice was published again on March 15th in the Northern News, being the local print newspaper, coordinated within the February 28th edition of the municipal update publication through the town's various social media streams and within daily local radio broadcast strips.
Thank you. Item number 5, correspondence received. Madam Clerk, was there any correspondence received from members of the public regarding the 2025 budget?
Madam Chair, I confirm there was no correspondence received by the clerk's office in relation to the 2025 budget.
Thank you. Item number 6, comments, questions from members of the public. Before I ask the clerk, my next question, I would like to remind all members that this is a public meeting and there is no discussion or debate with members of the public when they speak with us. Madam Clerk, has anyone registered to provide comments or pose questions in person this evening?
Madam Chair, I confirm that no one has asked the clerk's office to register or to request to participate electronically in this public meeting.
Thank you. I will now invite members of the public to line up in the center aisle to speak at the podium. You will each have an opportunity to provide your comments or pose questions, and you may only speak once. Please state your name and address for the clerk before you speak. Thank you, sir. You may begin.
My name is Danny Soroshin, 93 4th Street, Kirkland, Ontario. Before you write anything down, Jen, I'd just like to second the pen, your guys, these last 2 weeks, unbelievable job. For all the snow removal, lift basins, monitoring of the water, thank you very much. You guys did us a big one. We don't thank these guys at Physical Services enough. They work their tails off.
Thank you for that, Mr. Soroshin.
I hope you'll tell everybody that tomorrow morning, please. Appreciate it. Really do. Okay. First statement. A little extension of Councillor Rick Owen's statement about shared grass cutting between TPR and the complex. If you noticed last summer when they did all the work on Rick's Trail Creek, all the wood mats that were installed to get the dump trucks and the excavator in. I think that square area, along with the area of the creek basin down between Queen and Premier, would equal the area of the size of the grass cutting to be done at TPR. So our guys at the complex can do that and save us by an $8,000 zero turn. Thank you. That's one. Number 2, I hate putting the cart before the horse. This goes to Mr. Forte's presentation about the waste contract. One, we would like, Patty, myself, for you guys to cancel the pickup on Governor Road. They already get one pickup on Thursday. We don't understand why they also get it picked up on Monday. We drove through Saturday afternoon. There was carts on the side of the road, 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon for a 6 a.m. pickup Monday. Our CAO keeps saying that we're the right environment. You drive through town and you see all these garbage cans lined up. 3 days later, they're still there. Not a great picture. Next one. We would like to know if the new recycling company is gonna repurchase our big blue bins that we purchased for $75 from the municipality. I'm led to believe that the city of Timmins and the city of Temiskaming Shores, because they did a town rollout of the bins, they were freaking reimbursed for their carts. And the next one for, I guess, the accessibility. I wish there was some way we could handle this, but a lot of the carts show up in the handicap zones and people have to use them. We were nice enough to have them, the works department cleans them above and beyond, like you won't believe. Just food for thought. Okay, that's that one. And the fourth one for that one, I'd like to know from, I guess, the environmental department. Do we have any audits of the recycling bins or the garbage cans that are picked up by the company? Because when I was in Timmins with Patty a while back, one morning we were out and there was two people from their environmental I guess, department, one with an iPad, and opening up the blue bins and seeing stuff that shouldn't have been in there, and they were pushed back from the curb, and the employee was documenting what address. I think if we did that in Kirkland Lake here on a random basis, we would add some more life to ourselves at the landfill site, therefore lowering the cost for us. Page 1. Lloyd, I hate to dump on you, but I need your help. In part of the budget here in the attachment 1 operating budget, in each category, I would like if somebody could just, with a short explanation, explain what administration and other is in each department. There's some totals of dollars amounts that kind of fluctuate. And after I took my shoes off and did some adding and subtracting, I kind of quit counting at 1,280,000 in dollars. Some of them I said have decreased, some of them have increased. And there's a couple of weird ones I just can't understand, but maybe with Lloyd's explanation, I'll probably get it a lot better. The one that really gets me going here is the child care at the building that we own and rent out on Queen Street. It says administration and other. In 2024, the dollar amount was $4,176. This year coming out, $4,612. $600 increase. I know we own the building, they pay rent. I don't understand what we administer. The next one, I kind of a weird one, was the cemetery. Last year was $10,512. This year the proposed is $16,174. And quite a big increase. That's about it, guys. I really appreciate you guys letting us talk. I'm disappointed there's nobody else here. You guys need more help than I can shake a stick at. And I greatly appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Would any other member of the public care to speak on the 2025 budget process? There appears to be none. Thank you. Item number 7, consideration of proposed bylaws. Madam Clerk, please read the directions stemming from this public meeting.
The council received the comments, questions from members of the public surrounding the 2025 town budget, and that the treasurer provide responses directly to those individuals and prior to council deliberations during special council meeting scheduled on Thursday, March 20th, 2025.
Thank you. This is the recommendation moving forward. We will now conclude the public meeting for the 2025 town budget. Thank you. Okay, thank you one and all. We're resuming regular public meeting at item number 4, petitions and delegation. I want to welcome the Museum of Northern History Auxiliary. Formal request to use Kirkland Lake Tartan. Anne Black, treasurer and past president. And Frankie O'Connor, Yes, good, good. Oh, no, sorry. Come on up, ladies. Hello, Merle, how are you? Sorry.
So good afternoon, Madam Mayor, CEO Alan Smith, Clerk Jennifer Montrose, council, staff, and members of the public. I'm Anne Black. I'm here representing the Museum of Northern History Auxiliary as past president and treasurer. And this is Merle Ballin, who's been in all positions in the auxiliary over many years. Frankie couldn't make it. She's, well, the highway out to Larder wasn't great. She wasn't sure what it would be like later on today. So, we're here. We're very happy to be here before you. And okay, I'll make it brief. We're here to request that council grant the auxiliary of the Museum of Northern History permission to use the Kirkland Lake Tartan for the purpose of inventory for the museum gift shop. I don't know if everybody's familiar with the history of the tartan, but it was designed in 1962 by Bob Price. He was a town councillor from 1968 to 75. He designed it for the 50th anniversary of Kirkland Lake in 1969. The pattern was developed by Mel Ford of the Van Weavers Guild, and she produced the prototype on her own loom. And we're a bit vague about the history after that, but certainly the design was developed to the point where enough material was commercially produced so that councillors back in the day had blazers and whatnot. And so in 2018, the Museum Auxiliary spearheaded the revival of the tartan for the 100th anniversary. And with a motion of council and a letter of support from the town of Kirkland Lake, which is attached to the letter I sent to everybody. The tartan was registered with the Scottish Tartan Registry as the official tartan of the town of Kirkland Lake. And registration was paid for by the auxiliary. So the auxiliary, now that things have changed a little bit with the museum, would like to continue using the tartan as the occasion arises for museum gift shop items, solely for the purpose of raising funds for the museum, for nothing else. And it won't be, it'll be periodic use, it won't be constant use. And the use of the tartan will just solely be used for fundraising for the museum, for no other purpose. So we seek your affirmation of the auxiliary's continued use of the tartan from this point on. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Any comments from council or questions? Pat, Kylie?
Through you, your worship. The tartan certainly has quite a history to it. Remember the days of Bob Price. I certainly don't have any objection. Matter of fact, I encourage the use of the tartan in future use. I'm all in favor.
Anything further from members of council? Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship, I would like to put forward a motion that the, no, I'm not sure whether it's the Museum of Northern History or the Museum of Northern History Auxiliary.
Yeah.
Be allowed to use the tartan to promote, and I'm not gonna use the word fundraising, because I think you need a broader scope to promote the museum.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for that, both of you, and we will move that to the considerations, notice of motion towards the end. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not sure if the ladies can answer it. Is it a copyright issue?
So it is, registered, it is officially registered, and Anne can probably speak to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
it's
Anne.
registered with the Scottish Tartan Registry as the Kirkland Lake, town of Kirkland Lake's tartan, official tartan, and it's up to the town of Kirkland Lake to grant permission to anybody who wishes to use the tartan.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Through you, your worship, I just realized I may have had a conflict of interest there as my heritage is Scottish and this is the tartan, so.
Thank you very much, ladies, and congratulations on your hard work. Thank you. Yep. So motion to receive, may I have a mover? Counselor Dykens, and second, Counselor Shaba.
Be it resolved that the delegation entitled Museum of Northern History Auxiliary formal request to use Kirkland Lake tartan be received for information purposes.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item number 5, acceptance of minutes of recommendations, 5.1, council minutes, may I have a mover, Counselor Ranger, seconded by Counselor Owen.
Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meetings, minutes of the regular meeting of council held March 4th, 2025, and minutes of the special meeting of council held March 6th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed, none noted, item carried unanimous. Item number 5.2, local and regional board minutes, may I have a mover? Counselor Ranger, again, seconded by Counselor Kylie.
Be it resolved that council receive the minutes of the following meeting, minutes of the Northeastern Public Health Unit Board of Health special meeting held January 30th, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6, reports of municipal officers and communications. Item 6.1, 2024 annual summary report for the Kirkland Lake drinking water system, which will be presented by Director of Public Works Stefan Forte. May I have a mover? Counselor Ranger, seconded by.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 PW 004 entitled 2024 annual summary report for the Kirkland Lake drinking water system be received, and that council hereby accepts the 2024 annual summary report for the Kirkland Lake drinking water system as presented, and finally that the 2024 annual summary report for the Kirkland Lake drinking water system be published on the town's official website, and a copy be made available for public viewing at the Public Works Office on Dunfield Road.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm here to present the 2024 annual and summary report for the Kirkland Lake drinking water system. As required under Ontario Regulations 170.03 of the Safe Drinking Water Act, municipalities must produce both an annual report and a summary report to ensure transparency and accountability in maintaining safe and reliable drinking water. The annual report, completed by February 28th, outlines key aspects of our water system, including the system description and chemical use, any adverse water quality reports and corrective actions taken, required testing results, major expenses related to equipment upgrades, repairs, and maintenance. Some significant investment in 2024, including rebuilding filter 3, replacing the water tower valve, commissioning a VFD for high lift pumps, and conducting extensive water treatment plant maintenance. These upgrades are all essential to ensure the continued safety and reliability of our water distribution system. The summary report highlights our compliance with key regulatory requirements, including our drinking water works permit, municipal drinking water license, and permit to take water. I'm pleased to report that in 2024, our average daily flow was 7,657 cubic meters, representing only 34% of our plant's rated capacity. The maximum daily flow reached a little over 11,000 cubic meters, or about 49% of capacity, which is well within our operating limits. In summary, our drinking water system has continued to meet demand for high quality drinking water in accordance with all provincial regulations. These reports prepared by Ontario Clean Water Agency, or also known as AQUA, ensure we remain transparent and accountable to our community. I respectfully request that council receive and accept these reports and approve their publication on the town's website with a copy made available at the Public Works Office on Dunfield Road. We do have an AQUA representative with us tonight, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir. I do want to welcome Mr. Patrick Roy, Senior Operations Manager of Ontario Clean Water Agency. Thank you for joining us this evening, sir. Any questions or comments from council on this report? Councillor Owen?
Through you, your worship. And before I say anything, I have no problem drinking Kirkland Lake water. I drink it with all the confidence in the world. I do not buy bottled water, although my wife does, but hey, but I do have some concerns. And what I'm looking at is in the summary report on, actually, I guess it's the first page. Page 1. And that's the number of non-compliance that we have here. That's a bit scary for me. There's one on alarms. I mean, the alarms are put in for a reason. And if they're not working properly, I mean, that should be high priority in my opinion as a user of the water. Also, I know that if the alarm doesn't go off, it can cause more damage within the system. It ends up costing the taxpayers more money. To me, I don't know what the issue is, but from the way I look at it, for the money we pay, the ratepayers pay for this service, the non-compliance seems pretty high, pretty significant in terms of value for our money. So I just wanted, it's not really a question, it's just a concern that I have, and I'd like to see that brought down to 0.
Thank you for that. Councillor Kylie, do you have a question or comment? No, you do not? Okay. Anything further from members? Table. Nothing further. Thank you, both gentlemen. You do have an easy night this evening for at least that report. So thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Roy. Item carried unanimous. Item 6.2, proposed changes for upcoming waste collection contract. Again, we're going to be presented by Director of Public Works, Stefan Forte. Thank you.
Mayor and council. I'm here to present the proposed changes for the upcoming waste collection contract. Turns out that changes are necessary to improve fairness, efficiency, and long-term sustainability in Kirkland Lake's waste management services. As you know, the town's current waste and recycling contract does expire this year, September 30th. While recycling services will transition to circular materials, the town is preparing to issue a request for proposal, or RFP, for a new contract that will focus exclusively on the collection of solid waste. The proposed changes are significant, but they address long-standing issues that have created financial inequities, inefficiencies, and operational challenges. Here are the key changes and why they're important. Number 1, eliminating waste shed collection for commercial and institutional properties. For years, residential taxpayers have been subsidizing waste collection for businesses and institutions, which is not standard practice in most municipalities. By shifting responsibility for commercial and institutional waste back to the property owners, we will ensure that municipal resources are focused on residential services, taxpayers who are funding the system. And this change will also eliminate the costly and inefficient manual collection process currently required for over 40 waste sheds in town. Number 2, enforcing proper cart allocation. Over time, some properties have received more waste carts than permitted under the current bylaw, resulting in unfair service distribution. As part of this transition, improperly allocated carts will be removed in September, ensuring fairness and consistency across the community. A targeted social media campaign will be launched to ensure residents and property owners are well informed in advance. Number 3, financial benefits. These changes will result in clear financial benefits for the town. Reduce costs for residential taxpayers by eliminating the subsidy for business waste disposal. increased landfill revenue through tipping fees paid by commercial and institutional users. Lower operational costs by moving away from outdated manual waste shed collection to a more modern mechanized system. In summary, these changes are necessary to ensure Kirkland Lake's waste collection system is fair, efficient, and financially sustainable. Continuing with the current model would maintain inequities, inefficiencies, and unnecessary cost of taxpayers. I respectfully ask council to support the proposed changes and direct administration to issue an RFP that reflects these improvements. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Before I open the table for comments and questions, I just want to note that this shouldn't come as a shock. This issue has been being raised since prior to 2018. I remember attending a few public meetings, with like owners of, or the contractor at the time, CNR. So it has been coming for quite a long time. My only concern is in the report, it says that there will be a social media campaign. Just for clarification, will we be reaching out to these businesses? We have a number that there's 40 different sheds. Are we going to be contacting these people directly?
To you, Madam Mayor. Yes, the goal will be to call these businesses directly, even while at the same time, we will have our social media campaigns, just to ensure that the message gets through.
Perfect, thank you very much. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Owens.
To you, Madam Mayor, I'm glad this is happening. I think it's time to modernize how we collect waste in Kirkland Lake. Two questions. Darn. Yeah, write it down. Okay, well, I remember the second one for sure. So when a contractor, because some businesses in town already use the automated truck with the bins, and do these get dumped in Kirkland Lake at the landfill here? Is there revenue generated through that process?
Currently, Madam Mayor, yes, when an outside contractor or even a local contractor is picking up for businesses, they have to dispose of it properly, and if they do dispose of it at our landfill, yes, they are subject to tipping fees.
Okay. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what the first question was, so I'll have to circle back. I reserve the right to re-raise my hand if it comes back.
Absolutely, thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Owen.
Yes, so your worship, the council, I agree with the elimination of the waste shed pickup, but I would go one further. We have a very, right now, our proposed budget is a 10.3% increase. And I believe we have an obligation to make every attempt we can to bring that down to a more reasonable rate. I think in terms of the commercial, and I don't know, whoever's getting 2 day a week pickup now, get 1 day a week pickup. That would reduce the town's cost, and it would also encourage more recycling. Because at the end of the day, we want less going to the landfill and more going into recycling. A lot of municipalities now have gone to every other week garbage pickup. I think I would be hung out to dry if I suggested that tonight, because we're just not ready for that mark yet. But I think that it is very reasonable to have 1 day of pickup for everybody. And that would be my suggestion to further bring down the cost of waste material. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor. It's nice when members of the public are backed by council members at the table, so that is really deeply appreciated. Councillor Dykens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to follow up. You kind of got ahead of me, so that's. No, and I think we need to seriously look at every other week for residential, whether it's this year or next, like we need to so many municipalities already do that. And also, for business pickup, like it's 2 days a week. it would be great if it's one day a week, because, like our residents said, we want to be, a hub, we want to draw tourism, and I've had people comment, people from out of town, like all the garbage cans on Sunday when they're coming to town. So if we can even change that day, from Monday to whatever, but if we can go to one day a week for business and every other week for residential, whether it's this year or next year, that's where I think we need to work towards.
Thank you for that. Director, would you like to speak to that in any way, or?
Well,
Reserve the right to-
I think these are great suggestions. I'm curious to know if council is willing to put in a change for this report.
So how do we do that?
Thank you. Okay, so point of order has kind of been brought in. Regarding making those kind of changes this evening, Madam Clerk.
Certainly, Madam Mayor, all of councils, so if any member of council so chooses to bring forward an amendment to the recommendation, has yet to be read. Then it can so choose to make that amendment.
Okay.
But we have to read the main.
We haven't even read the
Yeah.
main motion. Did I skip that?
Yes. we did.
Thanks.
No problem.
Okay, so before we make any amendments, I'm gonna have Madam Clerk read the motion as it stands.
Okay, I'll leave it over in a second.
Oh, did I miss all of it? Oh, my goodness. Moved by Counselor Owens, seconded by Counselor Shaba.
Sorry.
That's okay,
Be
that's
it resolved that report number 2025 PW5 entitled proposed changes for upcoming waste collection contract be received. And that council direct administration to issue a request for proposal for the new waste collection contract incorporating the proposed changes to waste collection as outlined in the report.
Okay, now, since it was Counselor Owen and Counselor Dykens that both had the same idea, please decide amongst yourself who's gonna move and what's your,
It's okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Yeah.
a question? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, this is great for us thinking
Mhm.
about this, but I just wondered through you to, the director, do you see any issues with, like going every other week, like if, like in terms of timing even,
For your Madam Mayor. With a new contract, we could stipulate it however we like. Like most new contracts, it'll be an adaptation to the changes. So this would just be another change for the community to adapt itself to. I don't think it's unreasonable to have a 1 day a week pickup.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
two different.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to know.
March,
what
April,
I need to know. what
Yes,
discussion of
there's
both
seven.
commercial and
Yes.
residential. And then, to a week about for residential, commercial from 2 days a week to 1 day a week. Commercial from 2 days
Yeah.
a week to 1 day a week.
Okay.
And residential is every other week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can
Counselor Dykens, you may continue.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. How long is, a contract generally? Is it 2 years?
If my memory serves me well, it was a 5-year contract.
5 years? Okay, we need to do.
Yeah, we need to do it.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so. Before we go any further and muddy up the waters, we've got two separate, but both agree to issues. One, the downtown core or others, or businesses being picked up twice a week. And then residential or all, it would be.
Every-
Yeah,
All.
I don't know. I have to defer to this director.
I'm not sure.
For
if we're
every
all talking
second
about the
week.
Same thing. Sorry.
So
what I
there's
was-
two issues.
Yeah.
One is businesses being picked up twice a week.
Right.
And the other item is, should we go community-wide bi-weekly? Pickup?
Oh, no, that's not what I have.
Oh, do you wanna start with one? Okay, okay.
With the commercial.
The commercial first.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
So, first item, commercial, once a week. Counselor Owen, are you moving that amendment?
so we're splitting the two, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, I will move
And
that we
Counselor,
pick up commercial and industrial or whatever the proper
And
terms are.
not on Mondays.
And that we not pick up on government road on Mondays.
okay,
That
and
needs to
Counselor
be. in the
Dykens, are
contract.
you the second?
Hold on, I gotta read this.
Yeah.
To the recommendation. To, have. Commercial. Please pick up. least. Not on Mondays.
Yeah.
That's it for now.
That's it for, okay, so that's the amendment. So the mover is Counselor Owen, the seconded is Counselor Dykens on that first amendment.
Yeah, to amend the recommendation to also include to have commercial waste pickup reduced to 1 day per week and not on Mondays.
Any conversation around that amendment? Counselor Owen,
I totally support it. I would go even further. In this review. The second pickup right now encompasses some, a large chunk or a chunk of residential area. So just to make sure that when we do this revamping of the contract, that those residential areas be. Oh, it's gonna solve itself because, never mind, yeah, my point's mute on that one.
perfect. Counselor Shavin,
Yeah. Long, yeah.
Yes.
it's been a rough day today.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions for the director. One is, just, for historical perspective, what was the reason, behind, the twice pickups for businesses? And, my second question is that, even though I support the, pickup once a week, would that be something that would be, if passed, effective in next contract, because it's obviously too late for this contract, right? You gotta
Yes.
changing this contract, right? So can you answer those questions?
Sorry, we're gonna respond like that
The
first
first
question.
is
everything got
historical
muddled.
context of
Yeah, but
why.
why twice? I mean, there must be some reason behind twice a week for businesses. I just want to know, I mean, that I'm in favor of it, any particular reason why businesses wanted it or they fought for it? Do we have to go back to the business and ask them if we can go to one, or, I don't know. I just want to make sure we vote that, a good understanding of what we're voting on.
Yeah, well, the historical aspect of that, I don't have a clear understanding of it, to be frank with you, that was way before my time. I could only assume it was because of the volume of waste generated and commercial properties asking to have it done twice a week. I don't know if that's justifiable or not. But the change that is being proposed, to only pick up once on government road, I think would be more consistent with other municipalities, and I think it sends the message out there that, we want fairness for everybody. I'm sorry.
Let's follow up, but that what we're proposing is actually too late for this contract because the
Yes.
contract is sunsetting itself. So that would be for, I just want clarification that would be for next contract. Or
So,
whoever.
Yes, Director. So, yes, Counselor Shabbat, as per the amendment,
Yeah.
we are discussing the RFP going forward
Okay.
for the next, so that is what we were discussing
Okay,
this
thank
evening.
you.
Okay, so that clears up that. Any further discussion on that first amendment? Okay, so now we can vote on that amendment. Okay, all in favor of the amendment? Opposed? None noted. Amendment carried. Second amendment. Moving to bi-weekly?
Yes.
Yeah, it's every other week for residential pick. Every other week for every other week for residential pick. So
So
there's a difference between every other week and bi-weekly.
Yeah.
that's a
So-
valid point.
Every other,
Every other week?
Okay, so we will over is.
Yeah, so Counselor Dykens had moved,
oh, is that okay?
Yeah,
It's fair.
Yeah.
Weekly, June.
and then Counselor Owen had seconded an agreement kind of in a roundabout way.
Sure. Okay, so the recommendation be amended further to indicate to have residential pickup of every other week.
Any comments or questions around the second amendment of moving residential to every other week? Counselor Owens.
This time, through you, Madam Mayor, it is a legitimate question. I will play information. This was the original question I forgot many at the start of this conversation. It was to move to a bi-weekly system. I'm all in favor of it. It's been this way for a lot of municipalities. My fear in that, because people are not gonna like it, they don't like change. It's gonna be, and I remember the conversation from 2018, it really heated over garbage, so this might get heated as well. It's gonna force people to put the emphasis on recycling. Do we have any idea what collection of recycling is gonna look like in Kirkland Lake after September 30th? Have we received any information on that one yet?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Owens, at this time, we have not received any news from Circular Materials, though we are trying to get that information. We haven't received any news of which changes are gonna be proposed or what changes they're planning on implementing, but we are working towards trying to find that answer for you.
Because that may be an easier way for the pill to be swallowed. Okay, well, if we're going to bi-week or every other week garbage collection, well, you still have the same service recycling and the big carts, then just forces you to recycle and we shouldn't be okay.
Thank you for that. Councillor Kylie,
Through you, your worship. It's not that I'm opposing any of the new schedule proposed. I'd kind of like to know what the difference in the price between one pickup and a weekly and bi-weekly or whatever you want to call it. To determine whether it's worth the aggravation to the town people. The supplier still has his trucks, his building and whatnot. I'm wondering if there is any savings. So I'm wondering if we could, with and without the exception, just a suggestion. I'm in favor, kind of in favor of this.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Definitely a good suggestion. That's definitely something we can do when we issue an RFP, is that we can have more of an option one, option two.
Yeah.
Type of approach, and then the decision could be made at that time. Prior to signing on the new contract, and council would have an option there. Look into those two different options.
thank you for that. Councillor Dickinson and Councillor Ranger.
Just two comments. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think it goes to the longevity of our landfill as well. If we're going, half as much, hopefully, that we're putting there. But also people don't like the 10.3 tax increase that is on the floor right now. So hopefully they'll understand that we're trying to do what we can. And it'll be more environmentally friendly as well.
Thank you. Councillor Ranger.
Thank you, through Madam Mayor. I'm in favor of Councillor Kylie's option. I like to work in facts and data, and I'd like to see the numbers of weekly pickup versus every other weekly or bi-weekly as options, so that we can present that information to the public and they understand how we came to our decision. So I think another motion needs to be created.
Yeah, okay, so, thank you for that. We have to decide on this motion at hand. If you want to add, you can after this motion. Okay. Councillor Owen, we're speaking about,
The motion of
Yes.
every other week for
Yes.
residential.
yes, thank you.
That is not an issue for me in my household, because it's just me and my wife, and we usually have more recycling than we do garbage. But as I walk along Second Street and I look at my neighbors' houses, their garbage cans are overflowing, okay? Now, this is an issue I've followed for a number of years, and when communities go from once a week to once every other week, they have a method where people can put out more garbage on the other week. Some of them have special bags, that they buy.
Yeah.
I think if we want to look at, and I may be putting the cart before the horse, we're gonna need some regulation in terms of, because I watch some houses and every week their garbage is overflowing. Now, I don't know what they're doing with their recycling. It's not my house. I don't go look in the garbage, so. But I think we're gonna need some sort of supplemental. The nice thing about introducing it now is that contract doesn't run out to the end of September, so we are giving people notice. I have no problems with a double, like, two-tier, double option, requests for proposal, like, that makes sense.
Sorry, I'm just gonna have the
Oh,
clerk
sorry.
read the amendment again, so we
Sorry.
can be clear on where the discussion is surrounding.
Okay.
So it was moved by Councillor Dolly Dyken, seconded by Councillor McCollum, to amend the recommendation to have residential pickup change to every other week. Not. So, no. If there's a friendly amendment on the floor by the original, we're going second to then description, then I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so for ease of meeting purposes, if there is a friendly amendment on the floor between the mover and the seconder to incorporate a two-tiered system of RFP to present the two different options costing, we could go ahead with that friendly amendment from the mover and the seconder.
So it's a two-tiered system on additional collection of residential waste.
Yes.
Yes.
Councillor
For
Dyke.
clarity.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure, yeah, I guess I'm not sure what,
Okay, yeah, absolutely, that's
You
okay,
guys-
because once we start getting into things get muddy. So, so right now, the amendment on the floor is,
To have residential pickup change to every other week, as well as investigate a two-tiered system on additional collection of residential waste. Whatever that may be, bags, tags,
okay,
yes, and so that encompasses what we've heard at the table from Councillor Kylie and Councillor Ranger about the concerns about costing, whether it would be cost effective. So if we add that second part, if you and Councillor Owen are amenable to adding that second part, we don't have to go for a third round of amendments.
and
can you read that part again, please?
Yes,
Yes.
and through you, Madam Mayor, just for additional clarity, it will give information to the director as well. When he goes to do the RFP, that he identifies options in the RFP. What are the options available to the community if you were to collect additional waste?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, moved by yourself, Councillor Dyken, seconded by Councillor McCollum. It is to amend the recommendation further to have residential pickup change to every other week. And to also investigate a two-tiered system on additional collection of residential waste.
Okay, sorry, so the director, do you have any questions about the direction since we're giving the direction to you?
Well, I thought that that the amendment was, okay, well, we're gonna make the change now for, to pick up every other week. But then we had a conversation about, well, why don't we go to RFP first and then make that decision after we have the prices? That's not what I'm hearing now, though.
I never heard that it was currently, I heard it was about the contract.
Well, yeah, sorry,
Yes.
the contract is what I'm saying. here.
Yes. Okay, so a point of clarity, through the conversation, we started with the second amendment, which was to do residential every other week. Through conversation and points well taken by council members, they want more information about costing. So if, when you put out the RFP, you ask for the two options, whether it's residential weekly or residential every other week, can you build those into the RFP so those people that are bidding on it will give the two numbers
Alternative.
or alternatives, yeah,
Alternative collection methods.
methods, yes. Okay, Councillor Dyke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm still not getting, because if we vote for every other week, why are we doing two RFP? I get the idea to get information, but if we vote for it, I think it's not necessarily, like,
Yeah.
we've already chosen to go. in.
Yeah, absolutely. I see your point. What the friendly amendment was trying to avoid was that motion being defeated because of questions of costing. Because two of the members at this table brought up valid points that should we make a decision without knowing the difference in costing. So, but it is your and Counselor Owen's amendment. If you do not want to amend it further, you do, and just have it to move to every other week, you don't have to make the amendment at all. Yep.
Madam Mayor, I guess I'm just still not, like, if we vote to go every other week, we're just getting information that, to justify it after the fact, is that what we're doing, or,
Okay,
Do you want me
so,
do you know what I
okay,
mean?
just no, yeah, okay, so you know what, because I was just trying to help the situation and it seems to have muddied the question. We will not do that, having addition by the state.
No, I just need clarity.
Don't seem to understand.
Okay, so if I may, through you, Madam Mayor.
Mhm.
I think Counselor Dykens is trying to ask the question. Okay, hold on, before you do that. The topic at hand right now is that Counselor Rick Owen had identified that there is a surplus of waste, residential waste that is being collected for large families or whatnot. And they wanna investigate a method in which they can attach a fee or a system to collect additional waste if it is required.
Okay, that's.
That's
not-
not-
No, that's
That's
not.
my financial.
That was a different, that's
That's
not,
totally different.
that's not what Counselor Ranger and Counselor Kylie, Counselor Ranger and Counselor Kylie were addressing financial, so I think,
Yes.
okay, so. I apologize to Counselor Dykens and Counselor Owens, I think we should just revert to what they had amended. Which was the clear question of should we go to pick up every other week? And then we can amend it further after that, or other council members can amend it after that. Counselor Owen,
Yeah, so you, your worship, as seconder, I'm obligated to vote in favor of the motion. Well, I feel an obligation to vote. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Otherwise, why would I second it?
Yeah.
Okay, but if it is defeated, I will be backing Janice's motion or whoever brings the other motion.
Yeah.
Okay, just for the record.
yes, okay, so to bring it back to the amendment on the floor. The amendment on the floor is now
Continues to be.
continues to be, yes, thank you. To move residential pickup to every other week. That is it. Any comments or questions on that motion? All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item, sorry, not unanimous, item carried. Okay. After all that. Counselor Owen,
Yes, I have a question for the director.
yes,
Okay, at this point in time, we have not come up with any regulations concerning overflow garbage. Okay, is that something that we need before the RFP is put out, or is that something that
We can look at that.
can be negotiated with the successful bidder after the RFP? Because I don't want to get us sidelined all night talking about overflow garbage.
Not sure how to answer that question.
Okay,
that's a fair.
That's an
answer.
honest
Yeah,
answer.
I'm a little confused,
Yeah.
which direction it took. I would have recommended that we put out an RFP with options, and then we discuss options with council
Yeah.
before making a decision on moving on to changing the schedule to every other week. That's what I would have recommended to do first.
Thank you for that. Counselor Shavna?
Yeah, thank you to you, your worship. To the director. I haven't read the last RFPs, but how will the contractors be bidding on this, the garbage? Do they go by volume? Or do they go by, I don't think they go by frequency of pickup, but probably by volume, the mass of volume, how do?
Through you, Madam Mayor.
The reason why I'm saying that is that, if we're going twice a week, which I'm in favor of, so I think, then you have so many X cubic meters of, garbage. So it doesn't matter if, they pick it up once or twice a week, they're still gonna be charging for that X amount of, garbage that they're picking up. So I don't know, how do you send that out for them to bid on? You don't mind?
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Shabba. The RFP will be written in a way that there will be a set number of black bins to pick up. And the frequency determines how many times it has to be picked up. So it's a set volume.
Thank you for that.
Madam Mayor.
Counselor Kylie?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. I agree with what we're trying to do here, but Rick does have a very valid point of excess garbage, because what's gonna happen? These people are gonna end up throwing the stuff in recycling, right? It's happening right now. So I think we need that option as an add-on after the fact. That's my opinion. I'd hate to see the guys going through recycling and finding bags of garbage in there. It'll be a real pain in the butt.
Okay, Counselor Dykens?
To you, Madam Mayor, just wonder if we could, deal with this at the time, because I'm sure other municipalities, like the resident mentioned in Timmins, they have audits, whatever. I think we can handle it after the fact. I understand the concern for sure.
Thank you. And I need to.
I don't hear you.
Counselor Lucas?
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor, I clearly heard from our director. His preferred choice would have been to have option 1, 2, 3 in the RFP.
Yes.
May I propose somehow, yes, we wanna go to bi-weekly, that is this council's preferred option. Can I propose an amendment to the RFP? Or propose something in the RFP to have option 1, and what will it cost for? Or what does it cost for a weekly pickup? Option 2, bi-weekly or every other week pickup. So we clearly have, okay, so once he puts out his RFP. Bring us the numbers, this is what option A is, option B is this, and then council can make an informed decision on. Hey, this is what we're saving, this is where we're going at,
Yes, absolutely.
and leave it at that, no extras, no.
It's no, yeah. Wait, okay, thank you very much, council. We're just gonna take one pause. Our wonderful clerk is working on what wording needs to be put in motion so that we can make sense of conversation.
Okay. So. To date, the recommendation's been amended to have commercial waste pickup reduced to 1 day per week and to have residential pickup changed to every other week. It appears as though there's a possible amendment, number 3, to say that that council will be looking for costing, option 1, weekly pickup costing, option 2, every other week costing. Pickup, every other week pickup costing.
Yes.
Motion. Yes. So it was brought by Counselor Owens this time and Counselor Ranger is second.
I brought it up.
You did originally, yes. I certainly miss the days when we used to just talk it out and then hash it out at the end of the conversation. I do miss
If
those
you want
days.
if you want your name on it,
No,
I honestly don't care, at this point, I just wanna move on to number whatever 6.3 is.
I don't need
Yes,
the publicity.
we will all certainly remember this conversation. Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have the wording? Okay.
Moved by Counselor Casey Owens, seconded by Counselor Dennis Ranger, that the recommendation be amended to include, to allow for the director to solicit any RFP. Option 1, weekly pickup costing, and option 2, every other week pickup costing for residential waste.
Any comments or questions on that amendment? Yes, I'm afraid. All right,
I don't know.
going once, going twice. Okay, so we are
Let's move on.
voting on that amendment. All in favor? Opposed? That one is carried unanimous.
No.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go to the original. And do the whole thing in a row. Oh, my goodness. Is there any further amendments?
Well, well, no, but, I mean, it's serious.
Okay, well,
Do you,
Yes,
we still have the case of overflow garbage. We have no regulation, we have no rule. And any municipality that I have followed has always had a regulation. You're allowed this much. A lot of the municipalities issue a special bag that they pay X number of dollars for a bag. That's for what it is. If we're going out with an RFP, the contractor should know that what our regulation is, because that's gonna add to his costs, and I hate to, make this discussion go longer, but
no,
we gotta cover it now.
absolutely.
In my opinion,
Yeah.
unless Stefan, I think I already asked Stefan and he said he wasn't sure, so.
No, absolutely. That is a fair, point that we should be fully discussing any issue before us. So I do appreciate that for sure. And yes, all silliness aside, if you want to bring that amendment to include wording to that effect, you certainly can.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'm looking for, I think for the direction
Yes.
to go to the administration.
Yes.
It'll either have to be about identifying the costing for that or identifying a method for collecting. Like it's two different things. It's
Yeah,
identifying different methods for it or identifying costing for those additional methods or any enforcement of that.
Okay.
Right?
Not an amendment,
No, so I think we have
but I think
to,
we need this clause in, as Rick says, because,
so sorry, Pat,
I'm having
before
a-
we,
I'm having a Casey moment.
yeah. So before we even engage in conversation, we need a seconder to the direction. If you have a point of order, Councilor Ranger?
Point of order, we're getting off what is on the table. A regulation would be a second, like something you would bring to the next meeting, not what's on the agenda as it speaks. We're looking for what we need in an RFP. For Stefan to move forward with looking for what needs to be in the request for the RFP. Not what council will create as regulations and or bylaws to have
Yeah.
the power behind the collection and in the methods going, in the
Point
methods
of
in which
order.
it will be.
Okay, 1
Collected.
second, please.
point of order too.
1 second, please. We're gonna deal with 1 point of order at a time. We're going to review, I'm going to review, and clerk is going to review what was being asked. So we're gonna take a 1 moment breath here, okay, folks? Yes.
Has to be in the RFP.
We're going to ask the contractor.
What would be the cost to pick up and stuff?
Yeah. Okay. So addressing the first point of order that Councillor Ranger has brought. In the respect of the original motion, Councillor Owen's amendment would address, Councillor Owen's amendment would address costing that may affect the RFP. I will allow it. The wording needs to be clarified and you also need a seconder.
Don't second.
My point,
Okay, so I am dealing with the first point of order, which was Counselor Rangers. To address that issue, I have stated that yes, it does address costing in the RFP. He needs to clarify his wording and he needed a seconder. He's now received a seconder, but what he needs is to clarify his wording for Madam Clerk to be able to give proper wording in the amendment. Thank you. For costing.
Okay.
In regards to the RFP.
Um.
Simple. Possible.
Yeah.
For residential waste.
Okay. So Counselor Owen, if you would accept a suggestion.
Yes, I would.
Okay.
It appears as though you're trying to identify an investigation on costing of overflow garbage for residential waste.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Okay,
I'll move that.
perfect,
I will second it.
perfect.
And
So that
Janice
first-
will third it.
So that first point of order from Counselor Ranger has now been dealt with. Counselor Shava, you had a point of order.
yeah, to you, Madam Chair, my point of order is, as much as I will agree with you, I think that motion will be, best served if you move it to notice of motion. Because I think we're getting out of, what we're really wanting to do, because we can't get an answer to that today. So why don't we just move it to notice of motion, then the director will have time to prepare, for it, because we're talking about they're talking about regulations, that's what I heard, and cost amount and all of that, for overflow. The charge for overflow, right, is that?
No, that is not the motion on the floor. The amendment to the motion on the floor is, Madam Clerk, please read the motion again.
Certainly. Moved by Counselor Rick Owens, seconded by Counselor Patrick Kiley, that the recommendation be amended to include, to be as part of the RFP, an investigation on costing of overflow garbage for residential waste.
Okay, well, I would draw mine.
Thank you for that. Anything further on that amendment?
Sorry,
No, that's okay. Counselor Dykens.
to you, Madam Mayor, what I did hear in part of the discussion is, do we have a policy? Like, so, like that's the part that. That's the part that I'm not clear on, and if we don't have a policy, how can you determine what's overflow? Like somebody gets two garbage bins or whatever, so that's all.
So I do appreciate that question. That is a good clarification question. Because we don't have anything in place yet.
Yeah.
And because that is not the way the current contract runs.
Okay.
It would be something that would be brought back via staff at the time of that discussion of the RFP. Yes? Yes? Yes. So we'll be bringing back a policy in regard to that new RFP process. Thank you. Before I call the vote, I want to say that this is the most fulsome conversation this council has had in a very long time. And I know it gets confusing, but this is actually why we're here. And I'm super proud that we were able to discuss that in a very professional manner. And I would like to see more fulsome conversations like this on behalf of our community. Thank you to staff for your patience and to the public who was willing to listen to that. I do appreciate it. And this is, you know, why we are such a good team, because we can have these good conversations. So thank you for all of that. All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? None noted. Now do you have to vote on the whole?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're gonna vote on the whole thing.
Okay, so I'll start with the original mover and seconder, and I'll read out in short form the amendments that have already passed. So the original mover, Counselor Casey Owens, seconded by Counselor Lad Shaba. Be it resolved that report number 2025 PW 005 entitled proposed changes for upcoming waste collection contract be received. And that council direct administration to issue an RFP for the new waste collection contract, incorporating the proposed changes to waste collection as outlined in the report. and as amended to include to have commercial waste pickup reduced to 1 day per week, not on Mondays. To have residential pickup changed to every other week. To have within the RFP, the investigation of option 1, weekly residential pickup costing, option 2. Every other week residential pickup costing, and amendment number 4. To investigate the costing of overflow garbage for residential waste to be as part of the RFP.
Thank you for that, everyone. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Good work, everyone. Thank you. Item number 6.3, 2026 municipal election voting method selection. Jennifer Montroy, municipal clerk. Moved by Councilor Ranger, seconded by Councilor Owen.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 AGM 001 entitled 2026 municipal election voting method selection be received, and that council direct that paper ballots with the use of an accessible vote marking system and vote tabulars be approved as the voting and vote counting method for the 2026 town of Kirkland Lake municipal and school board elections, and that council sanction the use of an election management software for the administration of the preliminary list of electors, which is and turns into the voters list. And that council authorize the municipal clerk to draw from the election reserve in 2025 in order to secure the services required for the 2026 municipal and school board. And finally, that an updated bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on April 1st, 2025.
Thank you. Any questions from member of council? Oh, you're gonna. I like, let's get it on now. Forgive me, Madam Clerk.
No problem. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, so democracy and the ability for electors to cast their ballots are at the forefront of any government. The report before you this evening was intended to lend to the discussion on the benefits and considerations of all methods of vote available to the town, to tie in the survey results from the last election event, to have a candid discussion surrounding the costs of integrating alternative methods, and to also discuss any resource constraints for all methods of vote. The Municipal Elections Act also identifies that municipalities are required to establish by bylaw anything other than traditional voting, such as using vote counting equipment and allowing for someone to cast a vote somewhere other than a physical designated voting location, which is a poll. I will keep my summary short, as I hope that I have provided you all with succinct benefits and considerations for all possible methods. You were provided with information on how the different methods of voting works from an elector's perspective. 5 options were presented to you surrounding methods of vote, being in-person voting with vote tabulators as the only voting method, which is the current voting method, electronic voting as the only voting method, vote by mail as the only voting method, internet and telephone voting, both methods used together only, internet voting through the advanced vote period, and paper ballots with vote tabulators on election day, which is a hybrid method. I am recommending that the municipality continue with the traditional voting method being the use of paper ballots, continue to allow for the use of an accessible vote marking system, continue to allow for the use of optical scanning vote tabulators while modernizing the voters list to be managed in digital format. In terms of financial considerations, municipal elections are funded from the town's election reserve. A plan for the 2026 municipal elections was put in place at the end of the last event. It is expected that there will be approximately $50,000 available to fund the 2026 event. It is worth noting that administration is seeing a 71% increase from last event, which is trending in the last 3 municipal election events. New this year, and an internet-based election management system is being considered to be procured to manage the voters list, making elector-driven changes in real time, and to allow cutting down on significant staff hours in preparation and appending to it through the funding in various voting periods. This system is established to be approximately $7,850 plus tax, and is a requirement for digital and hybrid election models if council so chooses to go down this road or in the future. Given that the town system and support continues to ensure some technological challenges and will likely not be ready to support a project of this magnitude, I myself, as your returning officer, is recommending that the town continue with the traditional voting method being the use of paper ballots, continue to allow for the use of an accessible vote marking system, continue to allow for the use of optical scanning vote tabulators while modernizing the voters list to be managed in a digital format. I'm also seeking your authority to draw from the election reserve fund in order to secure the necessary equipment and services based on the recommended vote. That is my summary, Madam Mayor, and I welcome questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Dykens.
To you, Madam Mayor, to the clerk, I'm very happy to see the modernization of the voters list. It'll be great for you and your staff. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Anything further from members of council? Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item number 6.4, proposed election sign bylaw. This will be presented by, also by municipal clerk Jennifer Montroy. May I have a mover? Councillor Kylie, seconded by Councillor Owens.
Be it resolved that report number 2025-80M2 entitled Proposed Updates to Election Sign Bylaw be received, and that a public meeting to receive comments on the proposed election sign bylaw be held on May 6th, 2025 at 4 p.m. And finally, that the proposed bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on May 20th, 2025.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, the 2026 election preparations have commenced, and as such, before you this evening are proposed changes to the town's election sign bylaw based on past complaints, noted constraints and concerns on the town's existing bylaw, and practical lessons learned by other municipalities, not only in Ontario, but throughout Canada. A summary of the proposed changes from the existing bylaw to the draft one presented before you this evening is as follows. Enhanced definitions of specific note to private and public property. Enhanced responsibility for the returning officer of the different governmental entities in enforcing the said regulations within the bylaw based on the calling of elections. For signs on road allowances, a site triangle that has been established specifically on how the roads in Kirkland Lake are designed, including one for local roads intersecting each other and another for local roads intersecting with the Connecting Links Highway, which is government road. The language now mirrors the Ministry of Transportation's corridor signing policy. Removal of minimum size restrictions on public properties. There are no proposed changes to the maximum size restrictions. A new established buffer of 50 meters from allowing election signs to be placed at or around voting locations and or where the management or administration of voting is undertaken, which is typically town hall, which includes road allowances. That candidates obtain approvals in writing from other public property owners prior to placing their signs on those properties, and where requested that it be supplied to town officials. That where public property not owned by the town is within the catchment area of the voting location, that those signs will not be permitted to be placed prior to or during advanced voting events or on voting day, which includes the road allowances. To avoid elector confusion and reducing strain on enforcement resources, sign on any property not be erected sooner than 45 days before voting, and only where a writ has been issued by provincial or federal elections, which is no change, and only once candidates are certified in the case of municipal and school board elections, which is new. The rationale is explained in great detail in the report. Enforcement is being proposed for enhancement by including language to allow the bylaw enforcement division to issue orders to remove signs that are enforceable as part 3 under Provincial Offences Act for a fine of up to $5,000 for each offense, which is each sign in contravention of the bylaw. That candidates who have signs that are in contravention to the bylaw and where those signs are not moved within 24 hours of being notified will be removed by the town. That signs that are collected and removed by candidates after 30 days of being held at the town will be disposed of without further notice to the candidates. That persons who place vehicle election signs in their vehicles and that are in contravention of the regulations and restrictions can be towed at the owner's expense with a 3-pronged warning system. Knowing the council is fully immersed in budget at the present time, and in order to remove wait times for delegates who have been confirmed to present at your council meetings in April, a public meeting is being proposed to be called on May 6th to allow the public to weigh in on the changes. Thereafter, a supplemental report, including answers to questions stemming from the public meeting, can be discussed, including the opportunity for council to ask further questions, deliberate and debate on a new proposed bylaw as early as May 20th, 2025. And although there appears to be some discussion surrounding the calling of a federal election very soon, and potentially prior to council making changes to their existing bylaw, it will have little to no impact other than the minimum size of signs allowable on public property, which hasn't been an issue in the past, as signs have typically been oversized on public property for that type of election. And Madam Mayor, that is my summary. I welcome any questions from council, and I may call upon other members of administration to assist me in explaining technical information such as sidelines if requested or required.
Thank you. Before opening the table, I just have one question. In general, for the municipal election, how many polling stations, locations do we have for day of election?
For day of one, advance polls, 2 separate locations.
Okay. Second question to that, knowing the location is in general, branch 87 of the Legion, what area, 50-meter is very abstract to me, so can we have a description of how far away that is? Because in the past, election signs are often placed in front of the former tennis courts. I believe 50 meters would be in that catchment area, would it not?
Yes, it would be. Without having the GIS open, I don't really know what the catchment area is right now, but I can certainly, for the public meeting, have that ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate that. Okay, opening the table, any further comments or questions? Counselor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. In reading the bylaw, I'm glad to see that it was put in there about blocking another candidate's sign as opposed to we can only have 3 election signs on this within so many meters. That makes a lot of sense to me. It doesn't limit what locations a candidate can put their sign. They just have to be courteous. I have a question about billboards. In the last election, a billboard, at least one billboard was used. In a previous election, at least one billboard was used. Now, sign removal has to be done within 3 days, if I remember the regulations. But the billboards don't come down within 3 days. Like I don't, like, I'm not sure how that fits in with the regulations. I think there needs to be an exemption there for billboards.
I can
Yep.
answer the question.
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Mayor. The billboards in the community that are not on, that are not governed by the province are typically on private property.
Yeah.
And there is no size restriction, right? And it is the candidate's responsibility to remove those billboards within the 3 days, if that were the case, on those private properties. In terms of the province's deadlines for removal of the signs on their road allowances, we defer to the province's contracts with the candidates. However, all the candidates are aware that they have to have them removed by 3 days after the election. So they should be building that into the
Into the
contracts.
contract. Okay,
Yes.
yes, thank you.
Follow up?
May I keep going? I have a couple more points.
Okay.
In a previous election, one of the candidates used bumper stickers. Now, if I were to use bumper stickers and that person was to park in a municipal parking lot and have their vehicle towed, I mean, that seems a little unreasonable. And I'm not saying, and the reason I remember it is because one guy had it on his truck for many months because he couldn't get it off once it was stuck. But I don't think it's reasonable to put a blanket thing out there that you can't park in a municipal parking lot when you're giving out bumper stickers that says vote. I just don't see that as reasonable, and I just can't go along with that.
I can provide some
Yep.
information. Through you, Madam
Please
Mayor.
do.
So there is a section of the Municipal Election Act that identifies that the municipality has to remain unbiased in elections. And we own property, and which means we also have by law required to have a use of election resources policy that clearly delineates that we will not have any campaigning materials on any public property owned by the town. In my summary, I identified that if somebody were to be in contravention and have an election, a vehicle election sign, they would go through a three-pronged process. So you're being notified the first time, you're being notified a second time, and you're being notified a third time that you're in contravention to the bylaw. And then towing would be considered.
Okay, well, I hope the spirit of the law is enforced and not the letter of the law. And I have one more. And I was writing questions down as you were speaking, so I'm not sure that I heard right and I didn't see it in the reading. But did I hear you say that written permission was required for signs on private property?
It's not for private property, it's actually for public property that we don't own. So for example, if a candidate wanted to put a sign on the MNRF's land or a land that is publicly owned outside of the town owning it.
Okay,
There's been some concerns in the past election. I've got a lot of calls asking me, well, how come they can put it on
Yeah.
public land here? I said, well, that's not my jurisdiction, that's somebody else's jurisdiction. So now it identifies that there's a mechanism in place that says you're to ask that person to put the sign on their land. And if there is a complaint, I have the method of asking for confirmation that there was, permission granted.
thank you. Like I say, I was writing and I just want to thank you for all the work. I know during the last election, there was a lot of problems with signs. And hopefully with the new bylaw, most of those problems have been addressed and we'll see what happens next election.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing further noted. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item number 6.5, 2024 annual accessibility report. May I have a mover? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Shava, and this also will be presented by Municipal Clerk Jennifer Montroy.
Be it resolved that report number 2025 ADM 03 entitled 2024 Annual Accessibility Status Report be received for information. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So through you, the annual accessibility status report is, as always, the mechanism for council and the public to be brought aware of the town's progress in preventing and removing barriers as outlined in the town's multi-year accessibility plan. This is also the manner in which the town is able to identify that it is meeting its requirements under the AODA, which is the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. After consultation with our senior management team, the 2024 report before you highlights the town of Kirkland Lake's continued commitment to accessibility, specifically on the measures taken in the implementation of provincial requirements this past year. Some notable mentions are as follows: the installation of a curb stop on Tweedsmuir Avenue along Civic Park, installation of barrier-free doors at Public Works and Development and Enterprise Services Department's office building, which is at 1 Dunville Road. 10 stop signs and 4 no parking signs replaced due to visual fading. Installation of pedestrian crossover on Highway 66 at Burnside intersection, including audible sensor system, accessible pedestrian signals. Installation of 2 change tables in the arena washrooms at Joe Mavernack Community Complex. Reinstatement of the Community Services Department's monthly seniors newsletter, disseminated in 2 formats now, digitally and regular mail. Continued the community improvement plan, which is a building renovation and improvement grant, which provides financial support for the building owner and business operators to take advantage of building and facade upgrades, including accessibility improvements. Continued replacement of LED lighting at various internal and public town-owned facilities. Standardized advertising for communication from the town, and continued improvements to corporate forms and documents in accessible formats. As was noted in the 2025 corporate business plan, a new multi-year accessibility plan and corresponding policies will be presented to council this year. Accessibility concerns noted in 2024 were as follows: we did not receive any formal complaints. However, the general discussion with the public in the clerk's office, these were items that were identified again this year. Dangers associated with personal mobility devices, which is wheelchairs, e-bikes, mopeds, and segways on provincially and municipally maintained roadways. Accessible parking in the downtown core at various locations. As noted in the Development and Enterprise Services Department's portion of the 2025 corporate business plan, a review of these key bylaws will be undertaken in Q3 and include a dialogue on accessibility requirements. Once received by council, the annual report referred to in your attachment 2 is posted on the town's website. As always, members of the public are welcome to weigh in and provide comments on this report and any accessibility matter in general. This feedback can provide us with the ability to measure the town's continued commitment in providing barrier-free services and service delivery. That is my summary, Madam Chair, and I welcome questions from council, and I may draw upon members of our senior management team to assist in answering your questions if they are surrounding completed projects where required.
Thank you for that. Before opening the table, I just want to commend all staff on making Kirkland Lake more accessible. We know as we make our town more accessible for some, it actually makes it more accessible for us all. So thank you to all of staff. Any comments or questions from the table? None noted. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6.6, proposed amendments to land acknowledgement statement. May I have a mover? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Yeah. Be it resolved that report number 2025 ADM 004 entitled proposed amendments to the land acknowledgement statement be received. And that finally council endorse the amended land acknowledgement statement for the town of Kirkland Lake as presented.
Thank you. Yes.
Through you, Madam Chair, again. Council's adoption of a land acknowledgement statement prior to undertaking its meeting business was incepted in 2021. Based on recommendations from the last term of council, the statement was adjusted at the beginning of this term and has been recited since the inaugural meeting. Given the recommendations provided to the town during a recent meeting with an Indigenous community, administration is seeking council's endorsement of further adjusting the statement as presented. The rendering, as noted in the report, offers to be all encompassing and inclusive to all who claim being vested to caretakers of the land within a jurisdiction where this corporation administers its business. As we all know, the land acknowledgement statement is an important piece of the town's commitment to reconciliation, as it not only recognizes the history and past caretakers of the land, but offers a reflective opportunity for this municipality to demonstrate its understanding of the history and being connected to the land. Also, as certain members have made comments on expanding the use of the land acknowledgement statement, administration is seeking to engage in a dialogue with council and its formal preference to be included to what they would like included in a land acknowledgement policy. As noted in the report, should it be the continued desire to proceed, the recommendation before you this evening would require an amendment to direct administration to draft a policy based on those items. Madam Mayor, that's my summary this evening. The CAO and I will answer the questions, council, as best as we can.
Thank you. So before opening the table for questions, I just have a comment. As we continue to cultivate a deeper relationship with our Indigenous communities in the area, we should want to change and develop a more meaningful and inclusive land acknowledgement. I see this as just another step in building towards that direction. Personally, I look forward to bringing more partnerships with our Indigenous communities, and look forward to all of our business dealings in the future. Any questions or comments from council? Councillor Ranger.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I think for some, change is slow, and we have to be open and reflective that as hopefully more reconciliation and recognition of land's original stewards, our proposed amendments may change again. Let's recognize that Beaver House only recently was federally recognized, and it's important that as others may be appealing or applying for that recognition, our statements of acknowledgement will just flow with those times. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Anything further from other members? Councillor Dyken?
Dear Madam Mayor, with the proposed amendment to the land acknowledgement statement, were any Indigenous communities included in like getting input and stuff? I just want to learn more about the process.
I'll start.
Okay, Madam Clerk will begin, and CAO will add.
Through you, Madam Mayor. In 2021, the former clerk had consulted with the Indigenous communities. Certain Indigenous communities had identified to the municipality that it wanted the municipality to develop its land acknowledgement statement as a form of reconciliation. It didn't want to wait on the wording of the land acknowledgement statement. Others did not respond. And very recently, there was a meeting, between the mayor and the CAO, the director of development and enterprise services, and an indigenous community that identified wanting to weigh in on the language. Hence the reason for the report this evening. Perfect. Thank you.
Anything further from member of council? Nothing noted, all in favor? Opposed, item carried. Item number 7, considerations of notices of motions. Item number 7.1, Councillor Rick Owens, safety improvements at the intersection of Second Street and Allen Avenue. It was moved by Rick Owens, seconded by Councillor Casey Owens. I will have Madam Clerk read the motion.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Whereas the rock cuts at the southeast and southwest corners of the intersection of Second Street and Allen Avenue create significant blind spots for motorists and pedestrians. And whereas the intersection is within a community safety zone, elementary school children using this intersection are unable to see approaching vehicles, and drivers cannot see pedestrians until the last moment, posing a serious safety risk. And whereas winter snowbanks further reduce visibility at this intersection, making conditions even more hazardous. And whereas collisions at this intersection were observed in the past. And whereas traffic on Allen Avenue has increased significantly due to the construction of the Kirkland Lake District Composite School and increased activity at the Joe Mavernack Community Complex. Now therefore be it resolved that administration be directed to assess the feasibility and potential safety benefits of converting the intersection of Second Street and Allen Avenue into a four-way stop. And finally, that administration report back to council with their findings and recommendations for next steps.
Thank you. Councillor Owen, you may speak.
Yes, through you, your worship. I've had a number of people approach me, since this motion first came to council. And, mostly people in the neighborhood, telling me that, they recognize this as an unsafe intersection. And that, one of them came right out and said, what can I do to support you to get a four-way stop there? One of the people who spoke to me lived there years and years ago. And recognized that even though there wasn't the traffic years ago, it was still an issue. So what I'm asking is that council pass this, the staff uses the local resources to investigate a four-way stop. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll come back with a report saying yes or no to a four-way stop. They may come back with a report that says, we recommend a flashing light, or we recommend increased signage, or whatever other options may be available. Or they may come back and recommend a four-way stop. But I feel an obligation as a councillor and as a human being to work towards safety in the community. And this is just one area where I've noticed that it is a very potentially dangerous intersection.
Thank you. Councillor Owens as seconder, do you have anything to add?
And Councillor spoke to it quite well.
Thank you. Any discussion around the table? Any questions or comments from members of council? None noted, all in favor? Opposed? None noted, item carried unanimous. Item 7.2, Councillor Rick Owens, traffic safety study for intersection of Taylor Avenue, Prospect Avenue, O'Meara Boulevard, and Brookbank Avenue. It's moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Chad Kylie. Councillor Kylie, Madam Clerk.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Whereas the intersection of Taylor Avenue, Prospect Avenue, O'Meara Boulevard, and Brookbank Avenue creates unique traffic conditions. And whereas traditional traffic control measures were not designed to effectively manage the complexities of this intersection. And whereas existing blind spots at this location have contributed to vehicle collisions and frequent near miss incidents. Now therefore be it resolved that quotations be obtained from engineering consultancy services to conduct a study on traffic safety improvements and at this intersection. And finally, that administration report back to council with a review of the quotations and recommendations on next steps.
Thank you. Councillor Owen.
Yes, so you, your worship, and I just want to mention one thing here. on both these motions, I've been working closely with the CIO and Director Stefan. And some of that work has already resulted in new information about this intersection. This is not by any means a typical intersection. It does not by any means come close to sort of normal intervention to make it safer. A resident who lives near that intersection approached me and said, what about traffic mirrors? Okay, and that got me thinking, okay, let's see if we can do something. And this is a resident that's only lived in the community 3 years. So sometimes when new people move in, they see things from a little bit different. But all we're asking for is permission for Director Stefan to go out and get quotations on a study to see if that intersection can be made safe. The quotations will be brought back to council for consideration. And at that point, council can vote yay or nay on whether we take any further. So that's basically all I have to say.
Thank you. Councillor Kylie is secondary. You may speak next.
Yeah, through you, your worship. It is by far the worst intersection in the town. Ironically, Rick, when you brought this up a couple of weeks back, I was coming down Taylor Avenue in front of Pronto and pulled out and was forced off the road. Went into the snowbank because I couldn't see the guy coming from the other direction. It is a terrible intersection and it's not the norm for any town. I agree. I fully support let's have a look at it and see what we can do to make it safer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Dykens?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for clarity, like I'm reading this that we're looking to hire engineering consultancy services, but you're saying that the administration, sorry, I shouldn't talk.
No, that's okay.
Administration was just gonna come back. So what are we voting on the consultancy services, right? To have, is that not what we're voting? I just need clarity. That's all.
Okay, so clarity on that, as per the motion, it's in quotes on that, right?
Okay,
Mhm. Quotations be obtained from the engineering consultancy services to conduct a study on traffic safety improvements at this intersection.
so that's just,
Yeah.
knowing beforehand. Okay.
No, excellent. Anything further from members of council? All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 8 is introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws. I'm going to have Director Dan Labrador come up and speak to this. Give us updates on information we've received. Thank you, Director. Oh, yeah, let's do that. Moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and sealed the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2513 being a bylaw to regulate the time, manner, and nature of the use of supply of water in town of Kirkland Lake.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Director, you may proceed.
Good evening, through you, Madam Mayor. The bylaw is returned to council this evening as administration received a response now from the Ministry of the Attorney General on the proposed set fines and the languages surrounding the graduated fines in its watering bylaw that was previously presented. The recommendation was that the bylaw's recitals be adjusted to reflect the proposed graduated fines so that 2 separate fine schedules can be reviewed in by the Senior Regional Justice for approval, and that's in accordance with the established guidelines that are set out. As such, the previously established bylaw would be repealed by the one before you this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions, comments? None noted. Item, all in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Thank you, sir, for the clarification. Item number 8.2, bylaw number 25-014, moved by Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2514 being a bylaw authorizing the execution of a facility use agreement with Team Northern Toronto for Founding Events, which is TNT, for use of the Kirkland Lake Airport for annual events.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 9, questions from council to staff. We do have 2 this evening. 9.1, if current bylaw is going through a review, does this review process invalidate the said bylaw? This was submitted by Councillor Shabba, and CAO Smith will be answering to this question.
Through Madam Mayor to members of council, very short answer, the bylaw is still valid during the review process. That also applies to policy too.
Thank you for that. 9.2, also submitted by Councillor Shabba. Can administration share with us the town's mitigation strategies for the anticipated spring snow melt and surface runoff?
Through Madam Mayor to members of council. So currently we are ensuring the snowpack layer is kept as thin as possible. And we are also right now, we are also ensuring that we're opening up all the catch basins and culvert inlets and outlets. Also, in the second quarter, we will be bringing a report forward from the engineering firm that is doing the mitigation study on future mitigation methods and initiatives we can undertake for a long-term fix the long-term issues that we're currently experiencing. We are also, just to review, we met with the MNRF last week and to get more information how we can obtain data on rainfall monitoring the watershed levels. So we're currently working with them so we can get daily updates. And so all that combined, I also, I should mention, last summer into the fall, our Public Works Department did some major maintenance, including of our culverts, which we hope will improve the current situation. And that will continue into this year and beyond in the regular maintenance of these stormwater systems. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to commend Councillor Shabba on using the agenda item number 9, questions from council to staff. It is something that we've gotten away from in this term of council. It was instituted in the last term of council because of the sheer number of questions that new council had been proposing to that administration. So it is nice to see that it's being utilized to ensure that the public knows that council members are asking their questions and allowing those questions to be answered in a public way. Of course, our CAO is exceptional, that when we do pose questions as council, he has always come back to us with the answers in private. So this is an excellent way to have questions also answered in public. So I commend you, sir. Item number 10, notice of motion. Sorry, Councillor Owen, do you have
Well,
comments or questions?
No,
Or-
you said
okay, to move.
notice of motion, so I put
Yeah.
up my hand.
Okay, yes.
I was trying to be
Sorry.
a good student
Yeah.
teacher.
So because we haven't used this in a while, I did forget the way to handle this. So may I have a mover and a seconder to accept as presented? So Councillor Shabba moved, Councillor Dykens seconded. Thank you very much. Please do. Mhm.
Be it resolved that council receive the responses from administration to the noted questions for information.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Sorry, just to note to you, in prior council, this is not the way we handled it. It was questions from council were submitted, and it was the intent for council to vote on which questions would be answered. So that is the way it was presented last council. So, yeah, just because it was the sheer number of questions that were being brought forth, and so we had to kind of delineate which questions were worth a report, which could be answered quickly. Yeah, so it has changed and morphed over the two terms of council. So I do apologize. Moving on to item number 10, notices of motion. Councillor Owen.
To your worship, I have 2 notices of motion. One concerning tartans being used by the Museum Auxiliary. And the other is concerning the flying or displaying of the American flag at town-owned or managed buildings.
Thank you for that. I also, any other notice of motion coming from the table? I also, will be bringing forth a motion, regarding requesting support of the Office of the Solicitor General for the Kirkland Lake OPP Detachment Board. Next council meeting. Item number 11 is council reports. Any members of council have anything to share regarding their committee meetings, board meetings, engagements and events in the community they wish to share? Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. It seemed appropriate to bring this up at a public meeting tonight since we were dealing with the land acknowledgement. I just want to congratulate the new chief, or the chief and councillors at Matachewan First Nation. They just had their election. And I also want to congratulate all those there, all band members that put their name forward. I wish them nothing but success in their upcoming term, and hopefully we will build a stronger working relationship between our council and their council. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council?
Can I go after you? I'm trying to find a date.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I just, I do want to acknowledge that, I too had reached out, to, Matachewan First Nation and congratulated them as well. So definitely we are building towards a more integrated partnership, with our Indigenous communities. Tonight I don't have much. But I do want to acknowledge one of our extraordinary youth whose story came to me via social media. Mr. Aiden Kaiser, at the age of 24, set off for the Ukraine in July of last year and joined the Ukrainian ground forces. You can find his remarkable story on the KL Ukrainian group on Facebook. At this time of great uncertainty within our own borders, to know one of our own had the fortitude of spirit to travel across the world to defend the people of his heritage is honestly more than I can bear. I don't personally know Aiden, and I barely know his family. But from what I've heard, serving in the military was always in his future. He appears to embody everything we are as Kirkland Lakers and everything we should aspire to be at 25 years old. He is unapologetic in his convictions, living a life of purpose and willing to go above and beyond what is asked of him. If all of us could be so amazing. I want this young man and his family to know how proud his community is of his service and how above all else we wish for a safe return. If members of the public wish to know more about Aiden, please find the KL Ukrainian community, Michelle Whelan or Danielle Lafond on Facebook. Thank you, Councillor Dykens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This seems much less significant, but I think still important for our community. The Chamber of Commerce, which I represent the town, they're having their Best in Business Award Gala on Thursday, April 17th, 2025 at the Legion. For information, just check the Facebook page.
Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Oh, Councillor Owen?
Through you, your worship, and I know this is totally out of order, but I'm wondering if there's some way that the town can formally recognize that young man. In the terms of sending a certificate or something, because that takes a lot of guts and dedication, and he's putting his life on the line for a cause. And I think I would like, if we could, I don't know if we can, just a suggestion.
Thank you for that. That is something that I did consider because I was so moved. I do have a son that's around that age, so forgive me. It is the reality of our community that there may be also other members that we don't know about. that are also serving not only in foreign forces, but in our own. And yes, I do agree that perhaps, especially considering the political climate, we should perhaps be seeking out the names of individuals who are currently serving from our community and paying tribute to them in some meaningful way. So I do appreciate that, and my office will certainly begin to investigate that. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? May I have a mover to and seconder to accept the reports, moved by Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be resolved that, verbal updates from members of council be read.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Item number 12, additional information. 12.1, the proclamation for World Autism Awareness Day, April 2nd, 2025. Whereas in 2008, the United Nations General Assembly designated April 2nd of every year as World Autism Day. And whereas autism impacts more than 135,000 individuals in Ontario, representing 1 in every 50 Canadian youth and children. And whereas autism is a diverse spectrum that varies widely among individuals, each person's experience with autism can change over time. This evolving journey highlights the uniqueness of every autistic individual, emphasizing the need for understanding and support tailored to their specific needs. And whereas autism not only influences the lives of the persons who have been diagnosed, but also the lives of their friends, their families, and the community. And whereas many dedicated autistic individuals on the spectrum, parents, teachers, researchers, and professionals, including those at Autism Ontario and other community-based organizations, work tirelessly throughout our province to make the communities where we live accessible and inclusive. And whereas it is important to recognize and celebrate the unique differences and needs of others, fostering an inclusive environment where all individuals can participate fully in activities and discussions within a society that values and includes everyone. And whereas it is crucial for the town of Kirkland Lake to raise awareness and raise acceptance, provide support, and promote a more inclusive society. Now, therefore, I, Stacey White, Mayor of the town of Kirkland Lake, do hereby proclaim April 2nd, 2025 as World Autism Awareness Day in the town of Kirkland Lake. Thank you. All in favor, mover? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be resolved that council sanction the proclamation for World Autism Awareness Day, April 2nd, 2025.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Okay, we'll be in recess for about 10 minutes before moving into. So we'll now reconvene to move into closed session. May I have a mover? Councillor Ranger, and seconded by Councillor Kylie.
Be it resolved that council adjourn in camera pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local boards. Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including the communications necessary for that purpose, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiation carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board at 7:02 p.m. for the following reasons. Item 13.1, Human Resources Update. Item 13.2, Employee Engagement Survey. Item 13.3, Direction and Delegation of Authority for Collective Bargaining with QP Local 26. Item 13.4, Appointment to the Kirkland Lake District Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. And item 13.5, Supplemental Annual CAO Performance Evaluation, and the time will change to 7:03.
Thank you for that. All in favor? Opposed? None voted. Item carried unanimous. We'll now reconvene. May I have a mover? Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Shava.
Be it resolved that council reconvene in open session at 8:39 p.m.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Signed. Okay, item number 14, matters from closed session. There are none this evening. Item number 15, confirmation bylaw number 25-015. May I have a mover? Counselor Ranger and Counselor Dyken.
Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and until the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2515, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, March 18th.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. May I have a mover for adjournment? Counselor Dyken. Thank you very much. Sign off.